نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So in the last class we discussed the different types of knowledge. Discussed that knowledge can be divided into two types, tasawwur and tasdeeq. Today we're gonna go further and read the next fasl from the book and see what it has in store for us. So as always, I'll read the text first and then we're gonna discuss and then translate at the end, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. التصور قسمان أحدهما بديهي أي حاصل بلا نظر وكسب كتصور الحرارة والبرودة ويقال له الضروري أيضا، وثانيهما نظري أي يحتاج في حصوله إلى الفكر والنظر كتصورنا الجن والملائكة، فإن محتاجون في إمثال هذه التصورات إلى تجشم فكر وترتيب نظر، ويقال له الكسبي أيضا. والتصديق أيضا قسمان، أحدهما البديهي الحاصل من غير فكر وكسب، وثانيهما النظري المفتقر إليه. مثال الأول الكل أعظم من الجزء والاثنان نصف الأربعة، ومثال الثاني العالم حادث والصانع موجود ونحو ذلك. So inshallah ta'ala we will begin over here. Um, Actually we can read the next part as well. وإذا علمت ما ذكرنا أن النظريات مطلقا تصوريا كانت أو تصديقيا مفتقرة إلى نظر وفكر، فلا بد لك أن تعلم معنى النظر. فأقول النظر في اصطلاحهم عبارة عن ترتيب أمور معلومة ليتأدى ذلك الترتيب إلى تحصيل المجهول. إذا رتبت المعلومات الحاصلة لك من تغير العالم آه، وحدوث كل متغير، وتقول العالم متغير وكل متغير حادث، فحصل لك من هذا النظر والترتيب علم قضية أخرى لم يكن حاصلا لك قبل، وهي العالم حادث. So we read it till here, and inshallah we're gonna try and cover this bit and see what it says. All right, so in the last class we basically discussed how knowledge can be divided into two different types. The first being tasawwur and the second being tasdiq. Tasawwur is the thought, it is cognition that does not contain any hukum, that does not contain any affirmation or negation. And tasdiq is the thought or cognition that contains some sort of affirmation or negation. It contains a hukum. And we went into a fair bit of depth over there. So inshallah today what we're going to try and do is we're going to go further and we're going to try and classify it further. Now, what the text basically says is that, so first of all we had knowledge, right? So we had knowledge, ilm, and we divided ilm into two categories. So the first category and the second one. So first of all, we had tasawwur, right? We had tasawwur, and the other one we had was tasdiq. Now, the matan basically says that both of these, tasawwur and tasdiq, can further be divided into two types. Okay? Tasawwur and tasdiq both can be divided into two types. The first type is badihi, and the other type is nazari. Similarly, for tasdeeq as well, two types. The first one is badihi and the second one is nazri. Now we're going to see what each of these mean and how to understand what they basically mean. So, very easy way to remember this is badihi means obvious. So, badihi means obvious, obvious, clear, or self-evident. Obvious, clear, self-evident. All of these are meanings of badihi. The other type is nazari. The other type is nazari. Nazari means something that is non-obvious and it is unclear. Okay, and you need to use some of your brain power. You need to employ logic. You need to think to actually understand it. So badihi is something that's obvious. You don't need any fikr. You don't need any thinking. You don't need any nazar in it. And we'll discuss what nazar means, but you don't need any nazar in it. And nazari is something that, of course, requires nazar. Looking at the formal definitions of each of these, badihi, the author describes badihi is something that is hasil bila nazarin wa kasbin. Okay, so I'll write the formal definition here as well. So badihi is something that can be attained, something that can be attained without nazar. Okay, and of course I said we'll discuss what nazar is, but just remember that for now that badihi is something that is obvious. Nazar is just thinking through things. Badihi is that, and nazari is something. And again, these are types of these are either types of tasawwur and or they're either types of tasdeeq, which means that these are thoughts. These are thoughts. So badihi is a thought that can be attained without nazar. So instead of writing something, I'll write badihi is a thought that can be attained, a thought that can be attained without nazar. And nazari is a thought that requires nazar. Right? And now we'll look at some examples and then we'll come to that as well. So first of all, let's look at tasawwur badihi and tasdeeq badihi. Tasawwur, actually let's go for tasawwur badihi and then tasawwur nazri and then we'll do tasdeeq badihi and tasdeeq nazri. So tasawwur, if you remember, is a thought that does not require any a thought that does not have any hukm in it. It does not have any there's not a relationship being established. No affirmation, no negation, no ijab, no salb. It is just a thought. So tasawwur, when you break it down, I'll copy this bit. Hold on. Uh, Wait a second. Okay. So copy this and we bring this down. So tasawwur can either be badihi or nazari. Badihi is obvious, nazari is non-obvious. Okay, so the example the author gives is badihi would be, so if, for example, you're thinking of cold, okay, thinking of some of coldness or heat. So badihi examples would be, I'll write the examples like over here. So coldness, heat. Now, if you think of it, it pops up in your head immediately and it's very, very obvious, right? It is extremely obvious to to basically your mind. Let me see if I can give you more examples. Yeah. Okay, I think so. Any of these, like we gave horse last time, standing, Zaid, all of these are badihi thoughts. And interestingly, Imam al-Razi says that all tasawwurat al-badihi, there is no nazari tasawwur at all. But of course, there's ikhtilaf, and tasawwur is generally divided into two types, badi and nazari. But there is an opinion that says that badi, there's no nazari, all of them are badihi as in tasawwurat. So, what is the nazari tasawwur? Nazari tasawwur could be the examples the author gives are the examples of angels, of jinn. Okay. Now, why are they Nazari? Because we haven't seen them exactly, and we recognize them through their traits and attributes and what we know of them. So, whenever you think of them, you think of their attributes, and then through those attributes, you reach the thought of angels or jinn and so on. So that is basically why it is Nazari. It requires some thought. It's not obvious to the mind. So that's tasawwur in a very general sense, and tasdeeq is, if you remember, cognition that has a hukum that does negate or affirm something for something else. Now, if I erase this part, or actually, I'll just move it to the left or to the right. Hold on. Okay. So, tasdeeq badihi would be a statement where something is being established that does not really require any thought. For example, if you see Zaid standing, then saying Zaidun qa'imun would be a badihi tasdeeq. It would be a badihi tasdeeq. It does not require anything of any logical thinking, right? It's just straight up. You can see it and you say it. Some examples of badihi tasdeeqat that the author has provided for us is the whole is greater than the part. The whole is greater than the part. What this basically means is anything where you have the whole is going to be greater than part of things. Al kullu a'zamu min al juz. And yeah, uh, another would be two is half of four. Now, for some, this is not badihi because some people are not that good at maths, but generally it is perceived as something that is very obvious and badihi. So two is the half of four. Others could be um the moon. Actually, no. Um, this the sky is above us. Okay. Now this is a tasdeeq. It is affirming the sky being above. So being above in one is one tasawwur. The sky is another tasawwur. This is being affirmed. So there's a hukum that is in place, and so these two are sort of connected. And this is a badihi tasdeeq that the sky is above us. Yes, it makes sense. Um, Another could be the the ground is below us. Again, this is a badihi tasdiq. It's very obvious. It is clear. Um, if you want to look for things that like negative tasdiqat in badihi, you could think of um a donkey is not human. Al-himaru laysa bi-insanin. Right? So, or al-himaru laysa insanan. So a donkey is not human. That is something that's obvious, and this is an example for a salb, a negative relationship. So yeah, that's badihi, obvious things. Nazari would be non-obvious things, and the example that the author has provided for us is the universe is hadith means is accidental. It's it happened afterwards. Um a creator exists. Now, both of these tasdiqat, this one and this one, both of them are true and they make sense, but they require some logical thinking. They require some uh, thinking through things, and it basically requires some effort, right? So that's why it's nazari. So these are examples of nazari. So I hope you understand that badihi is a thought that can be attained without nazar, and kasbi or nazari is a thought that requires nazar. Badihi can also be called Badihi can also be called dururi or necessary, dururi, and okay, dururi. And nazari can also be called kasbi. Kasb means to do some effort, to toil, to work. So kasbi can be called that. Now, if we go back to our text and translate, it'll all make sense. So التصور قسمان أحدهما بديهي أي حاصل بلا نظر وكسب. The tasawwur is of two types. أحدهما, the first of them is badihi. Badihi أي meaning that something that is hasil, that something that is attained without any nazar, without any thinking, or kasab, uh, and any effort. كتصورنا الحرارة, like our tasawwur of حرارة, of heat, والبرودة, and coldness. ويقال له, and بديهي is also called الضروري. Badihi is also called الضروري. وثانيهما, and the second of the two types is nazari. The second of the two types is nazari, meaning something that requires fikr, something that requires thought, and nazar, fikr and nazar in its attainment, something that requires fikr and nazar in its attainment, like our tasawwur of jinn and malaika, like our tasawwur of jinn and angels. فإن, so indeed we are muhtajun, we are muhtaj, in the sense we are needy في إمثال هذه التصورات, in, for example, in these tasawwurat, we need to go through the effort of thinking through things, um وترتيب نظر, and arranging nazar, and in these examples. So basically they're explaining how uh in the nazari tasawwur we need to actually think about things, and it's not that obvious. ويقال له, and it is called al-kasbi as well. Now they move towards tasdeeq. Tasdeeq is also of two types. أحدهما al-badihi. The first of them is badihi. Badihi is what? Something that is hasil min ghayri fikrin, without any fikr or kasb. It is attained without any thinking or effort. وثانيهما is nazari, and nazari is one that requires us to do that. Mithalul awwal, the example of the first, Misalul awwal is referring to badihi. So the example of the first, yani badihi, is al kullu a'zamu min al juz, that a whole is greater than the part. Wal isnani nisful arba, and two is the half of four. Okay, the two is the half of four. ومثال الثاني, and the example of the second is, yani the second over here is being referred to as uh, this, النظري. العالم حادث, that the universe is accidental, that it came into being at some point. والصانع موجود, and another example would be that a creator exists. ونحو ذلك, and like that, and examples like that. So this is basically what the text is saying till here, and we went through the discussion as well of the two types of tasawwur and the two types of tasdeeq. So there's tasawwur badihi, and then there's tasawwur nazri, and then there's tasdeeq badihi, and then there's tasdeeq nazri. Now, the next part of the text, from here to here, they're basically explaining what nazar is in its essence, and basically a little bit of more of a detailed overview of what nazar is. So let's get into that. Hold on. All right, so let's continue into the explanation of what nazar is. So let me just make a new page here for the explanation. Okay, so now we know that tasdeeq and tasawwur both have two types, badihi and nazri. Now, nazri exists in both. And we said that nazari just means to think about it more. It means to put some effort into thinking. Now, the question is, what does the effort look like? What does the effort of doing nazar looks like? Uh, Now, the author says it is basically to arrange, I write this down actually, to arrange known things known things in a manner that they lead to unknown things. Okay. And this is like a very uh broad thing, and there's going to be lots and lots of things. This is basically the goal of Mantiq, right? So to we can only give some examples here. We can't really learn how to do it right away because this contains so many things that basically Mantiq is basically about this. So inshallah, in this by the end of the book, we will see how this happens. But just to give some examples, let's say we have statement number one. Statement one, let's say, um, um, I'm thinking of a simpler example. So there is one that's we could say kullu insanin haywanun. Yeah, okay, we could do that. Every human being is haywan, an animal, and we'll discuss this in detail later. Statement two could be, and this is a known thing, okay? The first statement is known. The second statement would also be known. Every haywan is uh, a jism, which means a body. It is matter, it is 3D. Every haywan is a jism. And then the conclusion would be attained from combining these truths. So therefore, every human is a jism. Now, the third statement we arrived at by using the first two as our stepping stones. We know first, we know the second, and we use the two knowns to arrive at the unknown. We use the two knowns to arrive at the unknown, and then we say, okay, every human is a jism. And a very, very famous example, you don't need to understand it fully right now, but you can see the essence of it in it. Now we see a lot in Mantiq. We'll explain later, inshallah. So similarly, If I copy this, hold on. So if I just copy this. So statement one could be al-alamu. Al-alam means universe. Al-alamu mutaghayyirun. Okay, al-alamu mutaghayyirun. Basically saying that the universe is ever changing, it changes. Okay, that's the first statement, and that is the first known. Kullu mutaghayyirin hadithun. And then the second statement says that everything that changes uh, came to into existence at a certain point in time. So basically, if anything changes in its being, in its form, then there was a point where didn't exist, then it came into existence. So that's the second known thing, okay? And there's plenty of explanation of why this is true, and but that's not our topic of discussion right now. So first statement known, second statement known. Now the third statement that can be derived from this is al-alamu hadithun, that the universe also came into being at a certain point in time. So basically, we said that the universe is ever changing, and then we said every ever changing thing came into existence at a certain point in time. Therefore, the universe also came into being at a certain point in time. This is almost like saying every A is B, every B is C. Therefore, every A is C. This is basically what we're doing. But this is going to be in detail later. Right now, just understand that nazar and means to arrange unknown things in such a way that it leads to you knowing, it leads you to an unknown thing. Okay, that's basically what nazar is. And we can go back to the text now and sort of translate. وَإِذَا عَلِمْتَ مَا ذَكَرْنَا. And when you now know that what we have told you, أن النظريات مطلقا تصورية كانت أو تصديقية مفتقرة إلى نظر وفكر, that all of the nazari things, be it it could be tasawwur or tasdeeq, it could be tasawwur or tasdeeq, all of the nazariyat, they require nazar and fikr. They require thinking. So they require nazar. فَلَا بُدَّ لَكَ أَن تَعْلَمَ مَعْنَى النَّظْرِ. Now it is important for you to understand the meaning of nazar. فَأَقُولُ. So now I say النَّظْرُ فِي إِصْطِلَاحِهِمْ, that nazar in their terminology. There means like in the terminology of the logicians of the Manatiqa, the nazar in the terminology of the logicians, عبارة is made up of عن ترتيب أمور معلومة. It is made up of, it is made by arranging things that are known ليتأدى, so that they give, or ليتأدى ذلك الترتيب, so that that ordering gives or leads to إلى تحصيل مجهول, that ordering in a way leads you to attain something that is unknown. So again, عبارة عن ترتيب أمور معلومة ليتأدى ذلك الترتيب إلى تحصيل المجهول. That nazar is made up of, is basically arranging known things in a way that the arrangement leads you to something unknown. It leads you to like attaining something that is unknown. كما, like how إذا رتبت المعلومات الحاصلة, like how you arrange things that are already attained to you. For example, now they give the example that we gave. In تغير العالم. So first they say that the first known thing could be تغير العالم, that the changing nature of the universe. And then وحدوث كل من وحدوث كل متغير, and the accidental nature of everything that changes. So now we know two things. وتقول, and you say العالم متغير, you say that the universe is متغير, that it changes. وكل متغير حادث, and every changing thing is hadith, it is accidental. فحصل, now you attain with this nazar, with this nazar and arrangement, علم قضية أخرى, the knowledge of a different statement, لم يكن حاصلا لك قبل, which was not, which you didn't have before. So now this arrangement leaded you to a new statement or a new qadiyya, which is a term that we'll study later, that you didn't know before. And that is al-alamu hadisun, that the universe is accidental. So you knew that the universe is changing, and you also knew that every changing thing is accidental. So now arranging it in a manner led you to that the universe is accidental. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But yeah, this is a fairly basic sort of discussion, just getting into things. The next discussion is quite interesting, and yeah, inshallah, we'll do the next discussion soon. So that is it. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.